You're listening to People and Profit, the podcast that focuses on elevating humanity through business, sponsored by Conscious Capitalism Arizona. And now, let's hear from our hosts, Jeremy and Sarah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the People and Profit podcast brought to you by Conscious Capitalism Arizona. We're your hosts, Sarah McCraren and Jeremy Neese, just Sarah solo today. And we're super excited to be talking to Laurel Elders and Kelly Lorenzen about how they are elevating humanity through business in their organizations, Institute for Integrative Intelligence and KLM Consulting, Marketing, and Management. But before we dive into the conversation, we want to share just a minute about conscious capitalism. Free enterprise capitalism has served to lift more people out of poverty than any other socioeconomic system ever conceived, empowering social cooperation, human progress, and elevating humanity. Good business is the answer to many of the global issues mankind is facing, and that is what we're going to dive into on the show today. Conscious capitalism is a global movement with over 30 chapters across the world that is on a mission to recapture the truth that good business is about doing good for all stakeholders, creating a higher purpose for your organization that can benefit everyone. Our Arizona chapter is focused on highlighting the amazing businesses and leaders in our state who are pursuing a higher purpose and consciously creating value for all. If you want to find out more about conscious capitalism and the Arizona chapter, visit ccarizona.org. So on that note, let's jump right into our conversation with Laurel and Kelly. Now, Laurel has over 20 years of combined experience in coaching, training, and directorship roles. She has developed a deep appreciation for the intense personal and organizational demands that successful professionals must meet every day. But today, she's here to tell us there is a better way. Laurel, would you please expand a little and tell us more in your own words, a bit about your backstory and how you became such a strong believer in the power of coaching and one-on-one development?
Absolutely. I felt a call years ago to help be a part of the solution. I grew up looking around at the world and I thought, oh my goodness, we're in trouble. We're headed downhill. Things don't look so good. There were all these stressful things going on like pollution and politics, just all of it felt really heavy. And I thought, well, that's it. Humanity, we've reached our peak and now we're headed downhill. But one day I woke up and I'm a rock climber and I do adventure climbing. And in adventure climbing, you look at a rock and you go, oh, I want to climb that. And you go to climb it. But what happens often is you get to what you think is the summit, and it's the false summit. The true summit is in the distance. And I realized that humanity is at that point. We've only reached half our potential because our approaches have been so linear and single focused that concepts like conscious capitalism are helping us expand into success in all areas, which to me is the true summit.
Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear more. I already kind of jotting down a few notes about some questions I have. But before we go there, Kelly is our other guest, and she is the CEO of KLM Consulting and is an award-winning entrepreneur with over 18 years of business ownership experience. Kelly's passion is helping fellow entrepreneurs and small business owners succeed. Kelly is a mentor, mother, and philanthropist. Her core values are fairness, integrity, family, inclusion, happiness, and accomplishment. So Kelly, same thing, would you take us a little deeper into your history and how you developed a passion for helping entrepreneurs?
Thank you for having me on today. I'm very passionate about Conscious Capitalism Arizona. New to the movement over the last 6 months, but felt the connection immediately hearing all about it. So I'm excited to be a part of the organization. I've been an entrepreneur 18, 19 years, grew up in an entrepreneur family and always saw the struggle of small business and decided that I wanted to give them a fighting chance in the world by offering everything that I learned over the 18 years of being a business owner to those who don't necessarily have the capacity to do it themselves or knowledge or know-how. So went to school for entrepreneurship, communications and small business, and got out of college and went right into owning a real estate practice, and then helped family business, medical practice, then a fulfillment house and retail shop and e-commerce, and then decided, okay, with all of that, what am I going to do next? And decided to put all that together and help entrepreneurs and small businesses grow and build and sustain.
So from what I understand, both of you definitely, you have a passion for problem solving and helping, small businesses and entrepreneurs. And you're also both business owners yourself. So starting with you, Laurel, can you just tell us more about your perspectives on business ownership, both as someone who's helping business owners and then, of course, as a business owner yourself?
Absolutely. It's, I would say I've owned a few businesses and I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I've noticed that it can be a challenge. It can absolutely be a challenge to get started and have faith that things are going to work out. And especially being that there's many well-established companies already out there. So I have a special place in my heart for startups in particular and people that are making a difference, using business to make a difference.
Yeah. So, I agree with you. I mean, I also have experience with entrepreneurship and have owned a few, and currently own a couple of businesses. So and Kelly, you can jump in, wherever it feels right for you as well. But the challenge of getting started, can we talk a little bit more about that?
Go ahead, Laurel.
I did it the hard way. I often tell people, if you're going to start a business, don't do it the way I did it. I quit my job after being so frustrated with, I was getting burnt out. I was a single mom at the time, and I just had faith that I was going to grow my business. And so, yeah, making that leap and just making it work, I think was definitely, it was a leap of faith for sure. And it worked out.
Yeah. And then the other thing, and then Kelly, jump in right after this, but, you mentioned, a passion for startups and recognizing that, you're starting something new and you have the extra challenge of, I say competing, but I'm using air quotes for competing because, I think, we all have the right people for us and we're not always, competing, but competing with established businesses. So what would you say is sort of the secret, or at least something very, very important to consider for those startups, recognizing they're entering into an existing market if they are?
For me, it's answering the question, what is calling you? There's a reason you are called to do whatever it is you're called to do. And getting in touch with that is what's going to separate your services from someone else's services.
I love that. Okay, Kelly, jump in and then we'll go more into that.
I love that too. It's finding your passion and your people, right? And of course, making a profit, right? The name of the podcast. There you go. But finding your passion and then connecting with the people that you serve the best. And in every business, my first business was a real estate practice, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, cutthroat business." It never felt like that for me because I always was drawn to, and people were drawn to me that fit perfectly for our clients, and customer service, obviously priority for me in any business. And so that kind of sets you apart. And just the follow up, right? Doing what you say you're going to do and follow up and have the customer service, that sets you apart far and, far away from if you had competition, for sure.
Yeah, I think you both described why I put competition in air quotes, because I completely agree with you. I think there's, yes, there are people out there who are doing, in the same market, I guess, so to speak, or maybe even offering similar services. But there certainly is the right connection and the clients who are out there with you. And I also generally have more of an abundance perspective. And it's like, oh, there's plenty, so we're not having to beat everyone. We just have to, I think Kelly, maybe you said it, or Laurel, maybe you said it, but we just have to connect and find the right people. So, Laurel, you also mentioned what is calling you. And Kelly, you threw out the word purpose. So let's talk about purpose. So that's also one of the conscious capitalism pillars. It's always fun, to talk about. So tell me each your perspective on purpose and what the purpose of your businesses are. You can go first, Laurel.
Okay. So our purpose is to elevate human potential through the art and science of masterful coaching. And we help those that feel called to leave the world a better place or empower teams or individuals. So, gosh, purpose to me goes so deep. It's what gives us meaning and fulfillment. Some people would call it life purpose. Yeah, to me, purpose is what is calling, what is ready to awaken within the person. What purpose is ready to awaken?
What purpose is ready to awaken? And, I think that, is it fair to say that with your business, it's almost like there's a double layer of purpose, because in some way you're training, people who are also sort of out there trying to instill or develop, or help others find their purpose. So it's kind of that double layer. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that, but yes.
All right, Kelly, let's talk about purpose for KLM.
So the purpose of KLM is to help start, grow, and sustain small businesses in our community for the good of humanity, right? Is the more people, I feel like the more people that KLM can help, the better we are as a community, because the people that we get to help are all small business owners making a difference in whatever they're doing, and it's so rewarding every day to wake up and help people work on their passion, right? Their business owner, like we were talking before, business ownership is hard. It shouldn't be done alone. People think they have to do it alone because they think they have to hold it all, in their own hands. But if they can know that there's people out there to be able to help them, we can just grow so much better and have a better quality of life. So I always say, do what you're good at and outsource everything else. So that's basically our purpose. But when you talk about higher purpose, for personally, it was raising good humans for me, and still is, with my children. And then combining that with, making sure small businesses grow and sustain in our community. And then having conscious capitalism be a part of my world now. It's such a well-rounded, higher purpose. I feel like I'm very fulfilled at the moment.
That's good. So, I can imagine that, there were like so many things that went off. So I got to get myself organized and say, what I want to talk about next first. So, you made the statement, and I'm sure this, also sent off, bells with Laurel, that do what you're good at, or, what you have the greatest passion for, and, sub out everything else. Right. So that is, I really love that perspective, because, we just can't be good at everything. And Laurel, I think this is probably going to tie into, and we'll get to this a little bit later. I know you have some insights on consultants and coaches through COVID. And I think that in a way it's going to align with this as well. Kelly, actually, I think that this is going to help me with two things I wanted to ask you about, because you talked specifically about helping people start companies, right? So not just grow companies, start companies. And so I wanted to hear a little bit more about how someone is working with you on starting something new, and how does that align or maybe conflict with, because you think about a startup and you feel like you have to do everything, right? But then you have this message of, do what you're good at and farm out everything else. So do those work together, or could you help me out a little there?
Absolutely. I love examples. So I'll give you a few examples. One is I've had clients who are in a 9-to-5, they call it. They're in a 9-to-5 job, and they really are not happy where they're at. And they have this pull, as Laurel called it, right? Something that's pulling them to do this thing. But there's no way that they can fit that in right, to their world, but they can't let it go either. So I've helped a lot of people who have a quote unquote day job where I will create the business for them, and then get them on their feet, and then they start to pull it, put it in after hours and on weekends, and then when we can build up enough, income, then they transfer from their 9 to 5 to the full time of their new passion. So that's one example is being able to that. So calling it outsourcing is whatever that means to that person, right? That's why I started the business, because I was always trying to find in those other businesses, I need somebody that can just do this one project. I need somebody who knows marketing really well. I need somebody who knows, how to pull this new line of business into, right? And I couldn't ever find that one person. I was always outsourcing to a million different people. So I was like, I'm just going to make a business where I do all of that for everybody, for all small businesses, so they can come to one place. So whether it's outsourcing my brain to them, right? So I can be just the consultant, and I can say, okay, brain dump it, to we call them brain dump sessions. Tell me everything that you're excited about, what you're working on, what hasn't worked, what is working, and then I can fill in the holes for them. So that's really exciting too, is whether they're borrowing my brain or they're outsourcing their marketing, or they have a brand new business that they just don't have time to start. I kind of fill in wherever needed.
That's a very interesting and unique niche. I'm not sure that I've ever met, doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there. I've ever met someone that helps someone specifically transition from their 9 to 5 into their own business. And I think that's pretty awesome, because, that a lot of the legal stuff and some of the foundational things that probably has become pretty routine and fairly simple and systematized for you can be like overwhelming, like to the point of non-starters, right? So that's pretty cool. So Laurel, tell us a little bit more about, the Institute for Integrative Intelligence. And so are you working more with established entrepreneurs and businesses, or do you also align with Kelly with some of the startups, or, who are you helping primarily?
The majority of our student base is either leaders that want to foster more of a coaching culture in their organization, or managers that want to adapt more of a coach-like presence with their employees, or with their team. We also have consultants that also, they want to add that coaching component to the consulting work that they do. Realtor, team leads, just a large variety of professionals that see coaching as a way to really up-level their impact on what they're doing. So that takes many different forms. Some of them go into full-time coaching as a coach, and others just add the skill sets into whatever they're already doing.
Yeah, so I like it. So the overarching is leveling up the impact, right? And so whether you're leveling up the impact through your own consulting business or within your team or organization, still the same goal. So that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that description. I was wondering also, although I think I lost my train of thought there, but I'm like, there's something you said I wanted to expand on. I wanted you to give us a little bit more information on the learning that you took away from, COVID and coaching. So I think you said, I saw somewhere that maybe there were 3 key takeaways, and it's specifically about, I think it ties into sort of your story at the beginning, where you were talking about, you got into this because you were questioning, if mankind, had a path forward, and, were we, at the false summit, or were we at a cliff and about ready to drop off, right? And so I feel like those 3 learnings that you have tie really nicely into this, because it's saying, how is mankind evolving, and how has the COVID experience maybe expedited that?
Yeah, it's such a good exploration, because, well, one thing that I just observed is that during COVID, COVID uncloaked our ability to understand our full capacity to pivot. Because before, I think there were a lot of companies or leaders that just felt like, oh, no, we can't do that. That's too big. And I think we've all had the experience of being at a job and then the manager or leader comes and says, we're changing everything. And everybody goes, no, and you grumble, but then it works. And I think COVID really showed us that we can pivot. We did pivot. And if we raise the bar on what we're considering success. So if we consider success in all areas, the positive impact on the environment, or at least not a negative one, employees are happy, the customers are well taken care of, all the stakeholders' successes. If we raise the bar, I think we can do it. And I don't think it's a matter of intelligence, because we're definitely intelligent enough. I think it's just a matter of perspective and getting a bigger perspective, which is what conscious capitalism is all about.
The other one of the things I believe I saw was I talked about agility and how COVID really forced us to, unstick ourselves a little bit. It was kind of like what you were just saying with oh no, everything's changing, but heck, it all works out. And I think that ties right into the agility. And Kelly, this might be a good place for you to jump in as well, because I also think that ties really nicely with do the things that you love and then use, your network of people to do everything else, because doesn't that make you more agile and also free you up to, pivot as you see opportunities?
Yeah, I loved last year for, obviously it was a terrible year for a lot of people, but I felt pushed to be the positive light and the positive influence for people of constantly like, where's the silver lining, right? Okay. Yes, this is happening, but what's the silver lining? Okay, we have more time because we're not running around. So we had more ability to help more people, which was really great for us because they could see the chaos, we could see the chaos, but then, okay, let's work through this. And how do we pivot? And there was so many cool new things that came out of that. And like Laurel said, the capacity of being able to shift and move around. I say shivit was my word last year, to move around. And I saw so many people do it. And I think now they're talking about, employees leaving and moving, because they're looking for that, right? They're looking for that new normal. They're looking for the better way to do things. They're looking for the doing good in business, right? I think it uncloaked a lot of things last year for sure.
Any thoughts, Laurel?
Completely agree. Yeah. It's neat to see the capacities just be so front and center. And I'm not saying it was always, it's always easy to pivot, but it is doable. So I'm excited to see what comes of this, especially with the people, like Kelly said, that are looking for that better way.
Kelly, I also love the way you said that you turned during all the COVID stuff, you kind of had a personal mission to help people maintain perspective, find the silver lining. And, Laurel, clearly you did the same thing since you had these, key insights of what COVID taught us and being more agile and less resistant and, more accepting of change. So I thought that was, kind of cool. It's like you took on like another aspect to your own purpose there and, helping, silver lining, there's more, or silver lining, or how about false summit, right? Kind of the same thing. There's more. So the other thing from before that I wanted to ask you both about was, are we seeing a bit more, in your opinions, a crossover between personal and professional development where they're not, I think they used to be pretty distinct. So professional development and honing up your technical skills has been, sort of on the radar for, in business for a while, right? And then on the other side, we've got all the self-help and, personal development. But I don't know, especially talking to both of you guys today, I was just thinking about how they're the same. And Laurel, especially when I think about leveling up impact, whether you're for your own business or, for the organization you operate in. Doesn't that, am I off? You see what I'm saying? What do you think?
Absolutely. So in the coaching world, we say any business coaching or leadership coaching after session 3 is all life coaching, because everything is so interconnected. There's that saying, how we do one thing can be how we do everything. So development, what we've also found is development in one area positively impacts the development in all these other areas.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And Kelly, maybe you can give us some examples on how that's come out in working with your own clients.
Well, especially in the last year, I think I have chills right now just thinking about the work doing through Conscious Capitalism Arizona and doing Laurel and I have been doing the Insight to Action workshops and working through our values, our culture, who are our stakeholders and how are we helping them? How are we interacting with them? And leadership and how are we showing up? It has made me, going through all those has obviously up-leveled my business, but it, on purpose, right? But it also has made me stand back and go, okay, how am I showing up in my family? How am I showing up as a parent? It makes you, like Laurel said, if you're up leveling one side, it helps the other. So when somebody's really succeeding in business, it trickles down or trickles over to their personal life, right? If they're really having a hard time in personal life, it sometimes and most of the time can trickle over into their professional life. So I think anything you're going to learn, you should probably think about learning it for both, right? For learning it for business and for personal. I'm constantly using examples from those workshops and any other time I've done personal professional development. I've used the examples in both in my business and at home at the dinner table.
So I think that's extremely wise. I think you both said it in different ways. As you learn a skill, make sure you can apply it everywhere, or alternatively said, Laurel, if you do things a certain way in one capacity, you probably, can or, should do it in all capacities. So would you say that is a core teaching for you, that it truly is all connected? Don't try to compartmentalize, take these like anything after session 3 is really life coaching. And yet we're talking about it within a business setting. Is that foundational for you both? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely is in my world for sure. I mean, we do integrative coaching. So to us, it's helping people connect those dots. What I think is really fascinating about the integrative perspective too is that, like, going back to Descartes was a philosopher. He broke everything down so that we could understand things separately. And a lot of that thinking came with us. So even in universities, we still see things studying very, independently of each other and compartmentalized. And that's great because it's helped humanity reach this level of, mastering these different arenas. But sometimes we forget that everything's interconnected, and to bring the interconnected perspective back into play. I think that's the next step.
Okay. I love that. And I think we need to talk about it some more. Are you okay with that, Kelly?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, let's do it. Laurel, maybe you could, through the knowledge that are part of your programs, you can go a little deeper into that, because I can't agree more. It resonates so strongly that I don't want to move off of it just yet. So, and again, thinking about, the whole conversation we've had so far with how you got into the business, seeing that there was a feeling like humanity was at a breaking point, deciding to be a part of a solution, becoming more agile, and now saying, let's look at the interconnectedness of everything. And of course, within it's bigger than business, but even just within the context of business is a pretty powerful conversation. So could you share a little more, or what's the best way to keep this one going?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it is the heart of conscious capitalism, right? In a business context, it's like, how can we support the success in all areas and have everything, all areas be attended to, and looking at the interconnectedness of those. But I think it can go. I mean, it's a concept. We call it integrative intelligence. So, Institute for Integrative Intelligence. So, the integrative intelligence is how can I honor all the potentials within me? What is calling me, and how can those potentials help me answer the call in my own life? So it goes individually. I think business is more community, big picture. And then, I mean, in society, we could even say, take it to that level. What can we do to think more connected and realize how much everything is connected? Because we can ignore the fact that it's connected, but that the interconnectivity doesn't go away.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for making the connection. It's stakeholder integration in the conscious capitalism world. And it's funny because until you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That really is just stakeholder orientation, huh? So thank you. And Kelly, what do you think? You certainly can comment in any way that you want, but I was curious on how, especially with some of your startup clients, how do you address that interconnectivity and make sure that all of this is a learning and it's all personal, it's professional and yet it's all personal. How do you do that with your people?
Well, owning a business, you're providing for not only yourself, your family, all your stakeholders. Again, right? We're talking about stakeholders. So you have to make sure in what you're doing that you're taking care of all those people, including yourself. It's really critically important to take care of them, of yourself as a business owner. And so part of that is, like you talk about the how does it all fit together personally and professionally? Well, small businesses, they are paying for their bills, they are paying for their life, right? And they are or are not having time for their family based on what they're doing, for their business. So it all goes together. It's, do I have enough time? Am I spread too thin? And how am I filling all those buckets? And we don't need to do it ourselves, right? We don't need to do it all ourselves. So if somebody else can fill that bucket for you, do that, because then it gives you more time to say yes at home, or it gives you more time to say yes to yourself if you're saying no to a few of those things, which is not saying no. You're just like, okay, you can help me with that and you can help me with that, and kind of spreading it around. I don't know. It's again, that trickle effect of if I'm helping the small business, then they can help themselves and their family. So it just spreads out real nicely.
Exactly. And then I think you said it earlier. It also, one of the reasons this is so important to you is, and then it ripples into the community, right? And the healthier we all are, right? I also really like what you say about taking care of yourself, because I'm a believer is that, everything, it overflows, right? And so you can, do things in service of other people, and yet those are doing things, and you certainly can, give, love and that sort of stuff with other people. But my opinion is that the way it really works is that it has to come from within you, which means you have to give it to yourself first. And then it overflows from there. And it doesn't become like a single act of service. Then that's where you can experience that true interconnectedness that is there if we choose to see it and recognize that it does start with taking care of ourselves and letting it flow from there. And Laurel, the other thing that you said earlier that I think gave me a literal oxytocin boost, and where I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, that was so awesome. When you talked about, and I'm probably going to say it wrong now, but helping the students identify all of their possibilities. And Kelly, I think you said the same thing when you were thinking about all the things that are within your life, because I'm guessing, Laurel, all those possibilities, it's not just business, right? It's not just, maybe what brought them there, but it truly is all of the possibilities that are inside of them so that they can identify and follow, I think, their calling is some of your words. So you got some more to say about that? See if I can get any more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it, so the 8 domains of human potential. We have these potentials within us that we can develop if we choose to. And so understanding the integrated nature of the human being, like all of our capacities. So emotional intelligence, relational, somatic, cognitive, spiritual, integrational, motivational, energetic, like what kind of energy are we bringing into things? Are we aware of our impact and what is our motivation in life? So all of these potentials can be developed, and we tend to gravitate, just generalizing, towards more of the cognitive in our society. So to really help people look at their full capacity gives them access to do more with their life. And what I mean by that is we teach that we actually don't create possibilities. Possibilities already exist. They exist within us. If we activate them, and they exist around us. The question is, do we have access? Do we have access? So there's things that can get in the way of giving us access. And as we develop, we gain more access.
I assume it means access means you're just not aware of the possibilities and you haven't had somebody push you or teach you or help you through those possibilities. Is that what you mean?
That awareness, but also our habits. So for example, if I have a blind spot I'm not aware of, and let's say I'm showing up to work and I'm reactive, but I haven't learned how to develop out of my reactivity, what are the odds I'm going to get promoted? It's possible, but what is the probability? It's lower. But when I start self-reflecting and developing these different aspects of myself, I can become more responsive. Now I'm showing up at work, and if something triggers me, I take a step back and I can respond. Then what are the odds I get the promotion? Well, the probability can go way up.
Oh, I love that.
Me too. I love the probability factor. And that's where we can have a lot of influence. The other thing that I love is where you said all the possibilities are there. And, the blockers are, we just don't see them for whatever reason. Like you say, habits. It's like they're there, but we just miss them. And I think that that's both within us and outside of us. So, and they're probably the same thing, both in and out. But, we have all those possibilities out there. It's just but we are unable to act or move in that direction if we're blinded. Blind spot or habit or all the different things that you were saying. The other thing that you said when you're describing these, the possibilities and, the 8 areas or whatever, it made me think of like how the micro is just a reflection of the macro or vice versa, right? And so now we're talking about all these possibilities and this and the way that all of these intelligences or whatever are interconnected within us. And now let's take that and say, okay, that's the exact same outside of us, right? And that was that, recognizing the interconnectedness of everything. So I just think it's so interesting, and that we have these, you have your students, they recognize that they can see it within them, and then they can reflect it out from there. Does that seem right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the premises in coaching is that our clients, all people, are whole and complete as they are, which seems counterintuitive because we don't always react whole and complete, and we don't always feel whole and complete. But there's a part of us that has all the parts. There's a part of us that is already integrated, but we've come into life and, life gets hard. So then we get false beliefs packed on top of us, and we get defense mechanisms packed on top. And before we know it, we can feel fragmented. And so just, I think there's such wisdom in recognizing there is a wholeness within people. and, speaking to that.
I love that. Even clearing, I have a lot of clients who are trauma practitioners and clearing that trauma, to be able to go, oh my gosh, like not having those triggers, right? To when you come into work and having the coaching. I think we all do better working together. So I'm constantly like, who can work with who? I'm the facilitator and the connector, right? I'm always figuring out how we can help each other better and how we can take those blinders off. And I love that's part of your teaching. If everybody could go through your courses, right? Even if they didn't want to be, can anybody go through your courses even if they don't want to be a coach?
We actually do have some students that just take it for the self-development part.
Yeah, that would be huge for people just to have that conscious awareness. When I went through, I've been to a ton of, trauma healing and counseling over the years and everything you can think of, right? Self-development, professional development. And the more you work on yourself, the clearer you become about your purpose, about how to help others, about what, all your possibilities are. And so then it's like, ooh, and so it's easier to help other people, the more you learn, you're like, oh, now I can tell this person this, and now I can help this person with this. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So now it sounds like we're talking mindfulness. At least that's a term that seems, it's a term that seems familiar to me anyway, to describe what we're talking about. And of course it could be described in different ways, but when you were saying habits and habits getting in the way of seeing the possibilities, I think that maybe was similar to what Kelly, was saying, where we have these automatic responses. And this is where, the organ of our brain really gets in the way of, I would probably say, you can tell me what you think, both of you, but Laurel, how much do you think like the organ of the brain gets in the way of seeing all of our possibilities, or at least 8 possibilities?
Oh, such a deep question. So that can correlate to our level of awareness, how self-aware we are. So what we see in coaching is as self-awareness goes up, increases, so does our capacity to respond. The lower levels of self-awareness, the more we get stuck in the patterned ways of thinking and being and doing that may or may not serve us. So the self-awareness at least brings us to, we can ask the question, is this serving me? Is this aligned with me? Who is me? What are my values? Am I aligned with those values? As the self-awareness goes up, so does the capacity to respond.
See why everybody needs a coach? And all kinds of coaches. I'm a huge advocate of like, okay, do you have your accountability coach, your business coach, your life coach, your counselor? Like how many people can you have in your corner to help you through all those things, to become more self-aware? It's always a learning thing, right? And we should always be constantly learning from all of our coaches.
Yeah, definitely. Kelly, is there anything that you consistently see with your startups, or even, the smaller businesses that are looking to grow, that, kind of aligns with this, or is a common sticking point?
Most people come to me in overwhelm because they either don't know how to do something or they don't have the time to do it. Those are always the two reasons. And they feel bad for, I don't know, I know this, I'm so excited about this thing, but I don't know how to, grow it. I don't know how to build it. I don't know how to market it. And I always tell them, you didn't go to school, or you didn't do this business for the marketing piece of it. You didn't create this to build a business. You created this because you were passionate about it and you want to help people. So, that's why you outsource. That's why you find people to put in your corner that can help you, so that you don't feel there's not a stupid question. I tell people there's no stupid question when it comes to business ownership, because we all have been there. We've all had every question there you can imagine come at you, like, oh man, and they want to give up, and there's no reason to give up your dream when there are so many cool people around to help you, get there. So yeah, I think just the mindfulness of knowing you're not dumb. You shouldn't have to know everything. And there are people to help you, and just having the positive ideologies or the mindfulness to say, no, I got this. Like my coach said, right? I'm a badass, excuse my language, but like write stuff, like write it, talk about it, voice it, put it down on paper so that you are constantly aware of it and to, for the reminder. So yeah, I think mindfulness is huge. And I think, being self-aware is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, a bit of reprogramming, right? So Laurel, like you were saying before about breaking old habits and how the habits really diminish the ability to see the possibilities. And Kelly, you're, giving the very, very good advice of, reprogramming with, just kind of the quick, easy term, affirmations, right? So what is the truth? I've got some of these false beliefs that are on repeat, automatically going through my head, the habits that you're talking about. How do I change those? So that's some pretty powerful foundational advice for anyone that's starting up. So I have a little bit of a topic change, and since you guys brought it up, I'm going to go there. So you both are participating in a conscious capitalism program, Insight to Action, right? And would you be willing to just tell a little bit more about your experience in that program?
Absolutely. So for me, it's bringing the concepts to life. So there's a focal point, and then there are commitments that we make to implement and bring whatever the focal points are into action. So it's been really helpful to look at, okay, so in business, where's the stuck point, and then where's the opportunities, and how can I have that conscious lens as I make choices?
Pretty good takeaway. Kelly, what thoughts do you have?
I always say I am always practicing what I preach, except for writing stuff down. I have always been a conscious business owner. I have always had values that I stick to. I have a higher purpose, all these things. But these programs through Conscious Capitalism Arizona has forced me in a good way to write down my values, who are my stakeholders, what is my higher purpose for KLM, what are our values, what's our culture statement we're working on at the moment, so that we can be held accountable. If we have it out there, I can now be held accountable because it's on my website. I've asked my employee, my team, my clients, my referral partners. I've now asked everybody in my circle about these things and have written them down and put on my website. So it's just another way to be held accountable for what I say I do. And I get to surround myself with really cool conscious business leaders that think the same as I do, that we want to help people, that we want to, use business as a force for good. It's just really important.
Yeah, obviously I agree. And it's interesting because just to add a little bit of myself into the conversation, which, I guess I probably have done that a lot already, but specifically, Laurel, when you were talking back to the beginning again about your coming from a place of doom, about, humanity and the state of the world overall, and then flipping that into wanting to be a part of the solution. I'll just say that's part of why I'm a part of conscious capitalism as well. It's like, besides, the businesses, and I certainly think it's important, through my business to make a contribution to good business and to humanity and to workplaces where we value each other. But with conscious capitalism specifically, it was like, okay, I want to be a part of changing things for the positive. How do I do that? Well, putting some time into conscious capitalism is part of it. And I think that that sounds like it's true with both of you. When I hear you talk about your either alignment with conscious capitalism, your connection to conscious capitalism, the time that you're putting into programs, or Kelly's also a volunteer on the leadership team. It seems like you understand where I'm coming from, right? And kind of see it as a worthy effort.
It for sure is. It's a give back. I've been a philanthropist for a long time. Luckily, as a kid, we were taught at a very young age to give back constantly. And so in my life, I've mostly given back to people less fortunate, people with disabilities, kids, all the things, our fire families. But it was neat to then come into Conscious Capitalism Arizona and be able to give back in business, and it's just a different way of giving back, but it's equally as important, because the more we talk about doing good business, I don't know, in the last 6 months of being part of Conscious Capitalism, it's that. And of course, just having amazing clients, I feel this overwhelmingly sense of joy that this world is getting better. It's just very, very slow. And if I could speed it up tenfold, we would be in good place. But even just in the last 6 months of the people that I'm meeting and the people that I get to work with, they're so loving and they're so willing to help each other. And so I just think that if we just keep raising this awareness and move this movement, we'll all be better for it.
Yep. And so now it leads me into another question for both of you. So if you contrast some of the philanthropy you've done in the past, which is, like you said, giving, to people less fortunate or people that are clearly in direct need. And if you were to contrast that with putting your time and efforts into conscious capitalism, so I guess, wouldn't it be nice if we had less needy people to begin with, and how can we get there? And what are your thoughts on how good business can actually reduce the need for those other, reduce the need for helping people in poverty, because we just pay people more, or we take care of people more. We have livable wages, and we don't have to rely as much on, let's just say, social services or nonprofits. I'm just curious to hear, I kind of feel like you took us there a little bit, Kelly. So what do you think?
I think that it's again, the trickle effect. So helping small businesses succeed and making sure that they're good businesses, obviously, and doing good businesses, then they can sustain their own families. Right. And so that's what I'm personally passionate about is the small business and helping them succeed so that they can, again, like you said, they can live above the poverty line. They can take care of themselves and their families. And just moving that movement is really, really important.
So what do you think, Kelly? Are we leveling up impact? I mean, is that when you think about leveling up impact, are we going that far? Like we're good businesses, good teams, taking care of people and raising the community along with us?
Yeah, I think so. I have conversations every week about that with clients and and referral partners, and I think we're on the right track.
And Laurel, you're the leveling up impact expert, so
I don't know about expert, but I will say, I don't know one leader. Now, this is any leader I know, so caveat that, but I don't know one leader that wakes up and says, I want to harm the environment today. I want to make my employees miserable, but yet it happens. So to me, I think we all have our patch of grass that we feel called to. So it's like, we've got Kelly, who's got the small businesses covered, and we've got coaches and consultants that are out there empowering the leaders to realize they can do better with their leadership roles. And there are better practices. And I think it's just going to take so many people just really having faith in what's calling them and stepping into that. so that all of the bases are covered. It takes a diverse effort. I don't think there's one single solution.
All right. So I hear you. I think that's great. And I think it definitely, ties back nicely into a lot of the conversation. So hear our calling and follow it. And that if we were just to operate from that very basic foundational principle, hear our calling, follow it, live it, be true to it. How would that alone just completely change everything?
That's a great question. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was going to say that make a world of difference.
I would just love to see that, right? Because I mean, if you study quantum physics and how connected everything is, I mean, I really believe that, even if you go into spiritually speaking, somebody might feel called because there's a gap. Somebody might feel called because something within them is ready to awaken. But I would just love to see a world where people just were supported in following what is calling them and stepping into that.
I just haven't. I've been fortunate enough not to see the negative that a lot of people hear and talk about, because I'm constantly pulling myself back into people that are doing good business. So if we can just keep all those circles getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I think it'll help.
All right, well, we're about to our end, so I want to give you both a chance to have any final closing thoughts, words of wisdom, anything, and then I'm going to do a couple of announcements. So, Laurel?
So 2 things. One, I just want to say, contact Kelly if you're a small business owner. It's been such a relief to know that she is there. And the second thing is, if anybody is listening to this and something is calling you, but you've been afraid to follow it, I really invite you to look at that and consider what the bigger picture might be.
All right, Kelly?
You're so sweet, Laurel. I would just say look up Conscious Capitalism and Conscious Capitalism Arizona if you want to help us move the movement of doing good business.
Well, and if you want to look up Conscious Capitalism, you simply go to ccarizona.org. If you wanted to find information about the international organization, it's consciouscapitalism.org. So easy to find. And then a couple of things that are upcoming on September 29th, which I think is the day after tomorrow. We have a virtual business chat. If you go to the website, you'll be able to register. And that is just like a conversation open to the participants, focus on whatever subject it is that you're looking to talk to. So a little bit like that coffee conversation that we'd be having if we were in person. And then on October 6th is our next tenant orientation. We'll be focusing on conscious leadership. You attend one of those tenant orientations, and then you can join one of the Insight to Action programs that Laurel and Kelly were talking about. So I think that's it for today. Thank you both so much. It was a great conversation. Thanks for all the hormone releases in my brain there. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to People in Profit, where we showcase the businesses that are elevating humanity through their work, right here in Arizona. Learn more about us at ccarizona.org.